And you're on the leader in pure classic country, 98.7 and AM 1580 WLIJ. And we are coming across WLIJ's home track this weekend, the Cracker Barrel 400 from Nashville Superspeedway, right here on Middle Tennessee's radio home for the NASCAR Cup Series. And with us once again is the lead anchor alongside Mark Garrow on the Performance Racing Network. You also hear him on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90 with the Late Shift with championship winning crew chief Todd Gordon, and on Fast Talk with Doug Rice and Kyle Petty. Mr. Brad Gillie joining us once again, and for the second week in a row, happy to have you, my friend.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming along, and this is a big weekend for you, I know, being the Cracker Barrel 400, and the biggest fan I know of the chain there, founded here in Lebanon. For someone who might have missed the Coca-Cola 600 though last Sunday evening, they missed a heck of a show, an incredible battle from the dominance of William Byron and Denny Hamlin. What could have been for Carson Hocevar if not for that engine, and then to Ross Chastain running off with the biggest win of his Cup career. What was that race like from your angle? I got to know.
Honestly, it was incredible. Look, 600 miles, that's a long endurance event. And typically in a race that long, at some point you're going to see someone take the lead and hang on to it for a while. Now, in the absence of cautions and different things like that, that's just simply the way it's going to go. That never happened on Sunday. I mean, and you think about that, 600 miles. 600 miles is like going from Charlotte almost to Memphis if you were driving. And to not have someone just drive off with a big lead is almost unheard of. And 34 lead changes the whole night, and you look at it, at one point, William Byron and Denny Hamlin, they changed the lead with each other 12 or 13 times just in a very short time frame, or actually over the course of about 200 laps. It was incredible to watch what happened, but for Ross Chastain to wreck his primary car when a tire went flat in practice on Saturday, have the team go Saturday afternoon and overnight into Sunday, rebuild a new car, bring it there, not even qualify it. The first laps it took was when the race started, and pass every single car. No pit strategy, nothing special. They just went out there and beat everyone and won the race. And it was one of the most memorable Coca-Cola 600s that I can think of in a long time.
Haven't seen something like that in quite a while, from worst to first and in a backup car. That's just Ross Chastain there for you in a nutshell. It was a great listen and a wonderful race there for the Memorial Day weekend at the Coca-Cola 600. Now focusing our sights on our home track here in Nashville. It's a quarter of a mile shorter, less banking, a mile and a third to be exact, relying much more on the brake pedal to get the car rotated through the corners. How does the prep for the drivers and strategy change for teams coming to Nashville?
The interesting thing about Nashville, it's concrete, number one, so that just makes it different. And what happens is, because concrete is, pretty much becomes a fresh surface every day, the way the rubber gets laid down on the track and will then get picked up by the tires as opposed to really getting ground up into the track, and staying there once they make their pace laps and everything, it just picks it all back up. But when they go out there for practice, and they don't get many sets of tires, so they go out there for practice, and typically they can run a set of tires down to cords just in about 10 or 15 laps. Well, that's the set for practice they get. They have to be really careful and really ginger with what they do. But then as the night goes on and we get into the race, the track does start to rubber in with each run, and subsequently that happens faster and faster. But the teams, every one of them, go into it with somewhat of a known, but a lot of a big unknown in the way things are going to work out and the way things are going to play out in the race on the track. And plus, Nashville, even though it's a mile and a third, it races like a short track. This is a place where they would bring a big brake package for it. They're going to be shifting throughout the night in every single corner of the 400 miles of this race, and there's just a lot more going on than what it would seem with what looks just like a really nice, intermediate style racetrack. It just doesn't race like that.
And poor Todd Gordon, I heard him talk with you last night how he wishes he had remembered that his first time back there. He was there as an engineer, but not as a crew chief, and he said, yeah, it was all too late by the time he remembered about the way to race there. Speaking of the late shift last night, you had a driver of the number 34 Ford from Front Row Motorsports, Todd Gilliland, with you guys, and he talked more about the resin that they plan to apply to the racing surface this weekend, as well as the concrete surface and how it's, unique to anywhere they go on the circuit. But as far as the resin goes, the track seems to have widened out a bit over the past 4 years in the Cup Series from running there. Could you maybe describe, maybe to a new fan, what that resin is designed to do there on that outside groove?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of them using traction compound. And what the resin does, there are two types of it. One that they call resin, another one made by a company called PJ1. The product name is TrackBite. It used to be called VHT. And they work a little bit differently in that the TrackBite will stay in the racetrack. It takes a lot of heat to get it going. The resin seems to work just a little bit different. And I think for the concrete surface, it really matches up well. But the reason why they do that, look, a lot of times there is a fast way around a racetrack. And it might be going down to the white line in the corners, then drifting up to the outside retaining wall as they come off the turns and, mashing gas down the straightaway and doing that over and over again. But what you want are multiple lanes of racing that are fast. And if you can add just a little more traction in an upper groove, the upper groove is going to be the longer way around the racetrack. So if you can add some extra traction there with a resin or a PJ1, something like that, it's going to create multiple racing grooves. It's going to give the teams options. And as the track naturally widens out with some rubber getting into it, then all of a sudden they can put some right side tires, maybe all four tires up in that resin, and find faster ways, find passing lanes around the racetrack. So that's why they use it. It's just to really groom the racetrack, if you will, to give us the best racing product.
Yeah, between that and the Goodyear tire notes for this year, looking forward to see what we're going to be seeing there on the Cup side on Sunday. And I can't help but every time we come back to Nashville, looking back to the history of the place, unique from other track revivals, this place was built in 2001 with the capacity and intention, it seemed at the time, to host a Cup race at some point there near in the future. And it seemed to be left out of the musical chairs of sorts when it came time to give a Cup date to someone. Kentucky ended up taking that spot in 2011. And then I remember in my childhood, that place just kind of went dormant for nearly a decade. It was like a car lot, where new cars would go and kind of wait to go to the dealership until some of the best news came to Middle Tennessee race fans during the COVID months of all time, that Nashville Superspeedway was finally getting its shot at a Cup date where it probably was intended to be in the first place. Well, we've had 4 years here, and one with the Gen 6, and then the last 3 here in the modern Gen 7 era. How would you assess how much the track and racing has improved since that time?
I think the Gen 7 cars really lent itself to great racing, and Nashville is just simply a unique track. And, Dover Motorsports originally built it and operated it, along with Memphis Motorsports Park. They'd own that one as well, including Dover Motor Speedway. And, when they decided to, just focus on Dover itself and shut down Nashville, and you mentioned Kentucky, Speedway Motorsports had moved the Atlanta race to Kentucky right at about the same time. I think a lot of people were sad because Nashville really fit itself into a nice place on the schedule, and it's a beautiful facility. And after it shut down in 2011, I actually thought that was just kind of a sad thing to see. Carl Edwards won that last Xfinity race there, and it was a place where people always talked about big things happening and a lot of memorable moments. And when Dover themselves reopened the racetrack in 2021 and then subsequently sold the company to Speedway Motorsports, it was just such an amazing thing. Big, massive sellout crowd. All of those things continued, but the way the cars race on this track, I think, is what's allowed it to, year over year now, draw large crowds because people know they're going to see something special there.
Absolutely. Dover, was able to bring it back to life, but I really think the Speedway Motorsports era of the facility has just brought it to new heights, especially for fan experience and all of those amenities. It really has just gone to the next level. Joey Logano is the defending winner in quintuple, I think it is, overtime last year. Ross Chastain back-to-back, could go back-to-back from his Coke 600 victory. He's the 2023 Nashville winner. NASCAR's most popular driver, Chase Elliott, won the first next-gen event with a rain-delayed race in 2022. And Kyle Larson won that inaugural one on his championship season in 2021. Brad, who's a safe bet to go this time around? You can basically just pick from a number of different drivers here.
I really think you can. I mean, Kyle Larson, his average in the next gen is 5.7. His overall average is like 4.7, and he won the first race back, but in the previous car last year. Over time, Denny Hamlin has led 265 laps there. As you mentioned, probably could have, would have, should have won that race up until those 5 overtime restarts. Chastain, in addition to his win in 23, was 5th the year before. Chase Elliott, in addition to his win in 22, was 4th the next year. I mean, to me, those drivers, along with Christopher Bell, look like they're the strongest ones when it comes to Nashville. But that's the great thing about it, is you never know. We've seen teams step up week over week from a legacy motor club, and John Hunter Nemechek, who drives for them, won the Xfinity race there last year, as well as a handful of of other drivers. So it's anyone's game. There are some hungry ones out there. Ryan Blaney's still looking for his first win of the season, and you can bet as we're now starting the second half of the regular season, he's a guy who wants to win and win in the worst way, and I think he can get it done.
Another note, I think back to Ryan Preece winning those first two Truck Series races back there after the restoration, and he's been someone that's been close to a win here so far this season. That might be one to watch as well. Well, either way, a custom-built Gibson guitar awaits the winner of the Cracker Barrel 400 in Victory Lane, and just for you, Brad, I've got some Cracker Barrels spotted for you. Mount Juliet, just off I-40, that might be the closest one there. There's also some in Smyrna and Murfreesboro. I mean, around headquarters, you can really just take your pick.
Oh yeah, it's awesome, and I think I may try to go to the one in Lebanon just to say that I went there. Although we do stay in Smyrna, so maybe I'll do that. And I'm pretty sure I've been to the other two, as many road trips as I take throughout the state of Tennessee. So I'm a big fan, and I'm so excited about this weekend.
Well, we're glad the circus is making its way to Middle Tennessee. We hope you enjoy your stay and have a great call there with the Cracker Barrel 400 from Nashville Superspeedway. That's again Sunday, June 1st at 5 o'clock. Don't miss it here on Middle Tennessee's radio home for the NASCAR Cup Series. Brad Gillie from the Performance Racing Network, as always, happy to have you here and hope to talk to you some other time this season.
Yeah, that sounds great. Anytime, man. It's always great talking to you.